Welcome to another discussion on the Think About It podcast, brought to you by Forward HR Consulting.
Stepping into a significant life transition, like starting university, it's a period that really tests and builds our adaptability, doesn't it? And self-management, resilience, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just the academics, you know? It's navigating a whole new environment, building connections, managing your own well-being. It's a lot.
It really is. It's that mix of excitement and, let's be honest, sometimes feeling a bit, overwhelmed by it all, by the unknown. Think of it like a big leap forward, full of opportunity, sure, but also needing a new set of skills.
Precisely. And that's why in this conversation, we really wanted to explore some practical psychology-backed insights from experts who focus specifically on this university transition.
Right.
We'll delve into strategies for, supporting your well-being, enhancing your learning, and fostering those really important connections.
So the aim here is basically to equip you, the listener, with some proven approaches, things to make this period not just smoother, but, genuinely enriching and positive.
Exactly.
And the great thing is, these skills we're talking about, they're not just for university, are they?
Not at all. They're foundational. Foundational for any new beginning you'll navigate, whether that's in life or your career later on. These are skills in self-awareness, proactive action, and using resources effectively. Qualities highly valued in, any professional context, really.
Okay.
So we've looked at what psychologists recommend, and we're going to unpack some key insights that I think can genuinely make a difference.
Okay, so let's dive in. Thinking about those first few weeks. It's a new place. Maybe you're away from home for the very first time, surrounded by strangers.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process.
It really is. And that initial feeling, that sort of unsettled feeling, it's completely normal. So one of the strongest pieces of advice from experts, like Dr. Julie Holm, is to tackle that feeling head on by actively engaging with university life right from the get-go and really prioritizing building those new relationships.
So not just hiding away or calling home constantly, resisting that urge.
Exactly that. While it's natural to want comfort, especially home comforts, the advice is consciously decide not to go home every single weekend, especially in those first few weeks.
Right. Use that time.
Yes. Spend that time on campus, exploring, just being there and connecting with peers.
Because that's where those new bonds, those friendships actually get formed.
Yes. And the research consistently shows this. Joining a student society or a club, it's incredibly effective. It fosters that sense of belonging, which is just crucial for psychological well-being during this kind of big change.
Makes sense.
And, if you enjoy sports, that's a double win. Physical activity boosts your mood, we know that, and it's kind of a built-in social network waiting for you.
I like that practical tip. Find activities you already enjoy. Lowers the barrier, doesn't it?
It does.
You're instantly surrounded by people with a shared interest. Makes those first conversations so much easier.
Right. It's about finding your own entry point into the community, making that deliberate effort, pushing past maybe some initial shyness. It really lays a strong foundation for your whole university experience.
Oh, it's an investment.
Think of it exactly like that, an investment in your social capital and ultimately your overall well-being.
Okay, so you're starting to find your social rhythm, but then the academic reality kicks in. And for many students, that means, a mountain of reading lists. How do you avoid just, drowning in textbooks?
Yes. This is where we need to shift from just passive consumption to active engagement. And it's such a crucial skill.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Dr. Paul Hutchins highlights the significant difference between simply, reading the words on a page and truly learning, properly absorbing that information.
You mean you could spend hours reading but not actually remember much?
Precisely. You can spend hours doing it and retain very little if you're not engaged. Effective learning is tied directly to your motivation and your attention.
So what's the practical advice then?
The guidance here is quite specific. First, create a dedicated space. Minimal distractions, put the phone away, close those unnecessary tabs on your laptop. You know the drill.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, before you even start reading, take a moment. Remind yourself why you're reading this particular chapter or article. What question are you trying to answer? How does it fit into the bigger picture of the course?
So giving the reading a purpose, that makes a difference.
A huge difference. Yeah, it activates your brain to actually look for specific information rather than just passively scanning.
Okay.
And perhaps most importantly, the advice is to pause frequently. Don't just try to power through pages and pages.
All right, stop and think.
Exactly. Stop maybe every paragraph or every couple of paragraphs. Summarize it quickly in your head. Check if you've understood it. And actively try to link the content to something you already know or maybe something else you're interested in.
So it's almost like having a little conversation with the text itself.
That's a great way to put it, yes. You're processing, you're questioning, you're integrating. And look, this method isn't just for university texts. It's a powerful technique for absorbing complex information in any context.
Like at work, for instance.
Absolutely. Learning a new skill for work, researching a new industry trend, mastering this changes how you learn, period. It's a really fundamental skill.
Okay, let's step back from the purely academic for a moment. Let's talk about something very real, very practical. Money. Managing finances at university. That can be a major source of stress for people.
Oh, it absolutely can. And the psychological link here is, well, it's undeniable. Dr. Thomas Richardson's work really underscores this. Staying on top of your finances isn't just practical bookkeeping.
It's more than that.
It's fundamentally linked to your mental and emotional well-being. Financial worry can so easily create a vicious cycle, can't it? It impacts your focus, your sleep, your mood.
So you can't really separate financial health from mental health in this situation.
According to the research, you really can't tackle one without considering the other. The recommendation is all about proactive budgeting and tracking.
Using tools.
Yes, use the tools available. There are plenty of helpful apps, online resources, many designed specifically for students or anyone on a tight budget. The key is just knowing where your money is going and having some kind of plan.
That sounds like, well, basic adulting skills, really.
Yeah.
But maybe amplified when you're managing everything yourself for the first time.
It is amplified, and there's very important caution highlighted by the experts here, too.
What's that?
If you have a history of struggling with things like, say, problematic drinking or other mental health issues, perhaps eating disorders, financial stress at university can potentially make those challenges worse. So being proactive about seeking support for those underlying areas is crucial. And doing it before financial worries potentially become overwhelming.
That's a really critical point.
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers on a spreadsheet, is it? It's how that financial pressure interacts with any existing vulnerabilities you might have.
Exactly.
So seeing proactive financial management as a core part of your overall well-being strategy, that's really insightful.
It's about building resilience, isn't it? Building it from multiple angles. Now, speaking of challenges and feeling overwhelmed, how do you look at a massive essay deadline or huge project and not just freeze up?
Yeah, that feeling of where do I even begin? I know that one.
Precisely. Well, Dr. Rebecca Sharp offers a really effective strategy here. The idea is to focus on setting task-based goals rather than time-based goals.
Okay, what's the difference there? Task versus time.
So a time-based goal is like saying, okay, I'm going to sit down and work on this essay for 2 hours straight. A task-based goal is more specific. It's, I will complete the outline for section 1, or I will find 5 relevant sources for this particular topic.
I see.
The difference is you're focused on completing a tangible unit of work, something you can tick off, not just putting in the chair time.
Because you could easily sit there for 2 hours and just get distracted or stare at a blank page, achieve nothing.
Exactly. We've all done it. Focusing on the task ensures actual progress. You break down that large, daunting assignment into much smaller, more manageable pieces.
Like little steps.
Tiny steps sometimes. The advice is actually to make those pieces very small initially, especially if the task feels really overwhelming. And then, as you build momentum, you can gradually increase the size of the tasks.
So instead of write the whole essay, it's more like write paragraph 1, then maybe write paragraph 2.
Or even smaller at the start. Brainstorm the main topic, find some keywords for searching, locate just the first source. This approach builds that crucial momentum. It combats procrastination and that feeling of being totally overwhelmed.
That's a great project management skill in general, actually.
It really is. Applicable to pretty much anything complex you need to achieve, in work or life.
Now, university also encourages independent learning, which is great. But sometimes it can feel like you're expected to figure absolutely everything out entirely on your own. Is that right?
Well, that independence doesn't mean isolation, and that's a really key message from experts like Dr. Alana James. While, yes, you are expected to be more self-directed than maybe at school, knowing when and how to seek support is actually a sign of strength and intelligence, not weakness.
Okay, so how do you strike that balance then between trying yourself and asking for help?
The suggested approach is kind of layered. First, definitely try to find the answer yourself using the resources available. That means your lecture notes, textbooks, online academic databases, the library website.
Do the groundwork first.
Right. Second, talk to your student peers. Discussing problems often helps clarify your own understanding. Plus, they might have already figured it out. But crucially, if you're still stuck after that, don't hesitate to approach the staff.
Like going to their office hours. Are those still a thing?
Absolutely still a thing. Academic staff have specific office hours set aside purely for students to drop in and ask questions. Make use of them.
Okay.
The experts really note that these interactions are invaluable, not just for getting answers, but for deepening your understanding, building relationships with your tutors.
It's not admitting defeat.
Not at all. Think of it as a resource to leverage, not a sign of failure. It's part of the system designed to support you.
That's a great reframing. It's about utilizing the support system that's actually there for you. Okay, speaking of utilizing resources, let's talk about lectures. It can be tempting sometimes to just think, oh, I'll catch up on the recording later.
The flexibility is nice, of course.
Yeah.
But Joffrey Taylor really emphasizes that attending face-to-face lectures, when possible, offers a level of engagement and value you often just can't replicate by watching a recording later.
Why is that?
Well, the passive act of just watching a recording is very different from being physically present in the room, potentially interacting.
Are lectures still just, someone talking at you for an hour? Have they changed?
Oh, the format has evolved significantly in many cases. Many lectures now incorporate technology for real-time interaction. Things like voting apps, live Q&A feeds through your phone.
Ah, okay. More interactive.
Yes. And they also utilize models like flipped learning. You might engage with the core material before the lecture, maybe watch a video or do some reading. And then the lecture time itself is used for discussion, problem solving, deeper analysis, not just the initial information download.
So the lecture becomes a space for active learning, building on your preparation.
Exactly. Being there, being prepared, and actively participating means you're engaging with the material in a much richer, deeper way. Your active presence and participation directly impacts how well you actually process and retain the information. It's an investment in your own learning process.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears again slightly. Social pressures, especially in those initial weeks, Freshers Week and all that, there can feel like a lot of pressure around drinking, can't there?
Yes, this is a really classic psychological phenomenon. Dr. Emma Davies describes it well. There's this common tendency, particularly when you're in new social settings, to overestimate how much others around you are actually drinking.
You think everyone else is going harder than they are?
Kind of, yes. And as a result, you might feel pressured to sort of match that perceived level just to fit in.
So you think everyone else is drinking a lot, so you feel you should drink a lot too.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is the follow-up research she mentions, looking at second and third year students. Many of them looked back at their first year and actually regretted drinking so much early on.
Really? Why?
They realized later that many of their peers, the people they were with, actually didn't particularly want to drink heavily either. They just felt the same pressure and were also matching what they thought everyone else was doing or wanted to do.
Wow, that's quite powerful. It's like this cycle of collective misperception driving behavior.
It really is. And understanding that dynamic, knowing that might be happening, it empowers you. It helps you make choices based on your own comfort level, your own values, rather than just getting swept up in what might actually be an imagined peer expectation.
It gives you back some agency in those tricky social situations.
Definitely. And speaking of modern life and social pressures, we have to touch on social media. It connects us, of course, but it also has a big impact on another crucial area, our sleep.
Ah, yes. The dreaded FOMO, fear of missing out, scrolling late at night.
Precisely, FOMO. Dr. Heather Cleland-Woods' research highlights exactly this, how that late-night social media scrolling really interferes with our ability to properly wind down and get good quality sleep.
Why does it do that?
It's that constant stimulation, isn't it? And that feeling you might miss something important if you log off. It keeps your brain active and alert when it should be preparing for rest.
So what's the practical takeaway here? I mean, beyond the obvious don't scroll all night long.
The key recommendation is really about building a buffer zone. Try putting your devices down just a little earlier than you normally would, even 30 minutes or ideally an hour before you actually plan to sleep.
Giving your brain a chance to switch off.
Exactly. Give your brain and body time to transition into a state that's actually conducive to sleep.
But what if you're, in the middle of a group chat or an online conversation? You feel like you might be being rude if you just suddenly vanish.
That's a very common, very relatable concern. But what the research suggests is because this feeling is so common, many people would actually be quite understanding.
You think so?
Yeah, if you just said something simple like, right, heading to bed now, talk tomorrow, most people get it. Prioritizing your sleep isn't selfish. It's fundamental.
Right.
Fundamental for your cognitive function, your emotional regulation, your physical health. It directly impacts your ability to learn effectively, cope with stress, and just feel well during the day at university.
That's such a great reminder. Sacrificing sleep for, one more notification. It really costs you in so many other critical areas of your life, doesn't it?
Think of sleep as a performance enhancer. Seriously. For your academics, your social interactions, your overall well-being. Okay, now let's shift our perspective slightly again. University is, let's face it, a significant financial investment for many, and it's easy sometimes to view it purely through that transactional lens.
Like, I'm paying all this money, I'm essentially buying a degree, so I expect X, Y, and Z.
Exactly that. That kind of consumer-oriented attitude where the degree is seen primarily as a product being purchased. Now, interestingly, Dr. Louise Bunce's research actually linked this specific mindset to, well, lower academic performance.
Really? That feels counterintuitive. Why would seeing it as a big investment make you do worse academically?
Well, the suggestion from the research is that focusing primarily on the transaction, the buying aspect, might detract from seeing yourself as an active participant, as a learner, as a student of your subject. The consumer mindset can sometimes lead to an expectation of being sort of passively given the knowledge or the grade rather than taking real ownership of the learning process yourself.
So it's more about focusing on the journey of becoming a student, engaging with the subject, not just acquiring the final credential at the end.
Exactly. Your mindset really does significantly shape your engagement. Approaching university with genuine curiosity about your subject, seeing yourself as someone who is learning and growing, that tends to lead to deeper engagement and ultimately more fulfilling and more effective academic outcomes.
It's about the transformation, not just the transaction.
Beautifully put, yes. That's a really powerful way to frame the whole experience. Finally, then, as we sort of wrap up this discussion, let's look forward a little bit, beyond the day-to-day,
Okay.
your university years. They're often described as some of the most memorable periods in a person's life. Psychologists like Dr. Catherine Loveday talk about something called the reminiscence bump.
The what?
The reminiscence bump. It's this phenomenon where memories from young adulthood, which includes the university years for many people, tend to be particularly vivid and easily recalled later on in life, more so than memories from other periods.
So the experiences you're having right now or are about to have at uni, those are the ones you'll really look back on, clearly.
They tend to be, yes. And that leads directly to the final piece of advice we found from this body of research. Be intentional about filling your time with memorable things.
What does that mean?
Well, while the academics are obviously key, make sure you're also allowing yourself time to relax, to have fun, to explore new things, meet new people, make the most of the incredible breadth of opportunities university offers beyond the lecture hall.
So it's not just about hitting the books 204/7. It's the whole package.
It really is. Actively creating those positive experiences, those connections, those moments. It contributes not only to a richer time now, but it also builds that reservoir of positive memories and feelings you'll carry with you long after you've graduated.
It's about building a life, not just a CV.
Well said. Exactly. It's about the whole person.
Wow. Those 10 points, they offer such a really robust framework for navigating this significant transition, and all grounded in actual psychological insights.
Absolutely. Entering university is a major step, no doubt. It requires adjustment on multiple fronts. And these insights from experts, they provide practical, actionable guidance on managing your well-being, optimizing how you learn, and deliberately shaping a positive, memorable experience.
And thinking about it, the skills you develop by actually applying these strategies, proactively seeking connection, mastering information effectively, managing your finances and your well-being, setting those task-based goals, knowing when and how to seek support, being an active participant, making intentional choices, cultivating that growth mindset. These aren't just university skills, are they?
No, they're absolutely foundational competencies. They really are the building blocks for successfully navigating future personal milestones and, importantly, thriving in your professional journey too, wherever that might take you.
So here's something to really think about for you, our listener. How can consciously applying these insights and skills during your university transition not only help you succeed there, but also deliberately prepare you set you up to handle all the future changes and challenges life will inevitably throw your way.
It's about considering the power of intentional self-management starting today and how that builds capacity for the future.
Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion on the Think About It podcast, brought to you by Forward Jar Consulting.
We sincerely hope these strategies provide valuable support for your journey, whatever stage you're at.
And if you'd like to explore more resources on well-being, managing personal and professional transitions, or developing key resilience skills topics very relevant to today's discussion, we invite you to visit our website. It's at www.forwardhrconsulting.com.